First of all, thank you to everybody who is attending our webinar today on making waves in the swimwear market. My name is Amanda Bacall. I'm the Senior Vice President of Marketing at JOOR, and I'm very pleased to have two incredible swimwear brands with us today, Beach Bunny Swimwear and Dippin' Daisies. We have joining us on the panel, Elaine Tran, who's the founder and owner of Dippin' Daisies. We have Jenna Withrow, who is the head of sales at Dippin' Daisies.
Okay.
And then we also have Stephanie Yanazone Barber, who is the COO of Beach Bunny Swimwear. And we have Katie Crow, the wholesale account manager at Beach Bunny Swimwear. So thank you all so much for being a part of this panel discussion. I'm really looking forward to today's conversation and to learning more about everything that's happening in the swimwear market. Just as a brief introduction for those of you that are joining us that might not be familiar with JOOR, JOOR is the world's leading digital wholesale platform. So we connect brands and retailers, and we digitize the process of wholesale buying and selling. Whether that means that you are using our iPad app to facilitate appointments and orders that might be taking place in person in a showroom or a trade show, or you're using our desktop platform to be able to sell and engage with buyers virtually wherever they are in the world. We have about 14,000 brands on JOOR today and over 600,000 buyers that come from over 150 countries. And we are processing nearly $20 billion in wholesale transactions annually. So with that scale of network, we have a really interesting vantage point on pretty much all product categories in the fashion industry. But I'm really excited today to be focusing in on swimwear, which has been a really dynamic market and industry, and excited to learn from some of the best that are here with us today. So why don't I start off? I would love to just have a little bit of an introduction to each of your brands. Why don't we start with the Beach Bunny team, and you can tell us a little bit about Beach Bunny Swimwear.
So Beach Bunny Swimwear started 20 years ago. We just had our 20th anniversary fashion show in Miami in June. The company was started by Angela Chittenden out of Newport Beach, and it is a woman-run, woman-led company. We have 12 retail stores nationally and one in Dubai, so 13 in total. We were started as D2C and brick and mortar, and then we moved into wholesale, so we're a little bit different than everyone else. About us.
Sounds great. Thank you. And for the Dippin' Daisies team, would love to hear a little bit more about Dippin' Daisies.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elaine. I'm the founder and CEO of Dippin' Daisies. I will tell you guys about how I founded and started Dippin' Daisies, but just to give you some background, Dippin' Daisies is more like a Gen Zer, 18 to 30-year-old audience. We sell to mostly the Gen Zer audience who loves to be active, who loves to go to the beach, who loves surfing and all those activities. So when I founded Dippin' Daisies, I founded it with my mother back in high school and in college. I used to give up my summers and my weekends to help out my mom in her small bikini store. And she was a factory immigrant worker, and she would hand sew the bikinis, and I would do most of the selling because she didn't speak much English and I spoke most of the English. And, to be honest, fashion was never my passion. I actually wanted to become a scientist, and that's what I majored in college for, which is chemistry. And then in my senior year of college, my mother got sick and she passed away shortly after. So at 21 years old, I decided to take over the business and continue her legacy that she worked so hard to build for me. And that's why I worked really hard with my amazing Dippin' Daisies team to bring the most sustainable, affordable, and highest quality, super soft bikinis there are to the market. So even though I don't use science today, I feel like I use science. Well, even though I don't pursue science in my career, I feel like I use science every day when developing recycled fabrics and making our manufacturing processes the most sustainable and less wasteful as much as possible. And so that's pretty much my story of Dippin' Daisies, and that was around 11 years ago.
Thank you. What an incredible story. And we definitely today will want to dig in a little bit more on the sustainability piece, because that is of so much importance to the industry overall. So we'll want to hear more about that for sure.
Of course.
I thought I would start off our discussion just talking a little bit about the swimwear market overall. I read a statistic recently about the growth in swimwear that was pretty astonishing. It said that the swimwear market is poised to reach $30.5 billion by 2028 from 21 billion just a couple of years ago in 2021. I'd love to get your thoughts about why people are fascinated in swimwear and what has maybe been driving this impressive growth in swimwear. Should we start, Dippin' Daisies? Do you want to start on your side?
Yes, I think that having different product categories offered, like cover-ups and accessories and clothing being part of our product offering, is expanding the consumer base. Also, after the pandemic, a lot of people went on vacations, and the Gen Z audience obviously loves the European vacations, and they are spending more money on buying products for their vacations. And they can also be very versatile in having worn swimwear in like their outfits going to the farmer's market or going on a girls' night out. Swimwear is very versatile, and that is expanding to different categories as well.
I think another big part of it is the huge body positivity movement. It's just growing rapid fire. Wear the bikini, wear what you want to wear. And I think that is expanding so many minds to want to buy the newest and greatest swimwear and pushing the boundaries. But also, like she said, in apparel, it's so popular right now. You throw on your bikini top instead of a bra, you throw on your little matching sets, going out on the town with a blazer over it. It's just, swim is getting bigger and bigger, and it's just a more attainable category too for new designers, new people wanting to go after that business. I think it's a little bit less intimidating than like an apparel brand. And it's fun and exciting, and it's an easier category to start in, I think, for a lot of people that want to start this new venture for themselves.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen a lot of what you're talking about. I think that today people are wearing swimwear almost for the look of a bodysuit, and mixing it in with apparel and just sort of widening the occasions of use.
Yeah.
Beach Bunny team, I'd love your perspective on this and on why the swimwear market seems to be.
So I'll piggyback off of what everyone said. The pandemic really pushed everyone into travel and allowing us to work from anywhere instead of being in an office. People began to travel more to more swimwear wearing destinations. So that really lifted the swimwear sales, in addition to the fact that everyone's posting everything on social media, and they will not be caught dead posting the same bikini or same outfit twice. So that is also increasing sales in bikinis. You're seeing that a woman who used to buy one bikini for the summer now is buying multiple. And we have expanded into categories where it used to be the cover-up was just for the beach. Now the cover-up, we were just in Miami and she was wearing a mesh cover-up with our swimsuit underneath it to go to the clubs. And with the increase of trends in mesh and crochet, she needs something to go underneath it. And naturally she's choosing, one of the basics. We're also seeing a big increase in brick and mortar. So our growth is coming from the addition of brick and mortar stores. When the pandemic happened, a lot of companies went out of business, and that gave us just an opening to go in and take over leases. And once we did that, our business actually grew because we became more well known on a global and national front.
Mhm. That's awesome. That's wonderful to hear. So, you mentioned something in your response about swimwear market and how you were seeing people wear swimwear differently. Knowing that we just came off of swimwear market, and I know both of your brands were present down in Miami, I'd love to hear a little bit about kind of post-market. What was the mood at market, and were there any key trends that you felt like really stood out, or maybe some things that buyers were particularly excited about this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think there were lots of trends that we did see when we were in Miami. I think there's a lot of like roses, lace, delicate hardware. Beach Bunny's known for our hardware, so that's something that's been really big for us lately. Yeah, I mean, I think there were way more vendors, I think, at market this time than last year or even previous years before COVID. I think there's lots of brands that are coming out and, trying to sell to the masses.
And I think that's due to the influencers, because
Mhm.
if you're a young up and coming designer and you get one swimwear on a major influencer, then your brand can accelerate quicker into the market than you would have 10, 15 years ago when you had to do all of your traditional marketing. So I think that that's why there were more vendors. Again, all the booths that used to just be bikinis hanging, they're now a full offering from bikinis down to footwear. So instead of just saying, here's your bikini, now we're saying, okay, we're going to pack your whole bag for your trip instead of just one thing. And then the other thing that was different this year is many brands weren't even showing past spring. So, and that I believe is because of the demand that e-commerce is pushing on all of us from a wholesale standpoint, where their e-commerce, the D2C is asking for more drops every year. And now that traditional calendar has changed. So whereas in Miami, we used to be able to show all the way through summer, we're not doing that anymore. We're really getting up to that resort, maybe early spring feel instead of showing the whole way through.
Mm-hmm. Interesting to hear about how that's shifting. From the Dippin' Daisies side, were you guys seeing similar things or other observations maybe from market?
Definitely similar things. I feel like there's a little bit of a mixture in trends. I agree with what Katie said, lots of roses, lace, delicate, like marrow ruffle edges, very cheeky, feminine touches. But I also feel like there's a big uptick in like sportier silhouettes as well. The little shorts are popular, a little bit more structure on the top, still very sexy and a lot of skin showing, but a little bit more active as well. Brown bases, bright colors, a mixture of both. And definitely at Cabana, there was a lot of matching sets that go back to the swim, having the full package, like they said, and definitely a lot to do with influencers. They are the driving force, whether it's one major one that brings on tons of new followers and tons of new consumers, or multiple medium to high level influencers that just really drive your business nowadays.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting because that's something that has really maybe changed in the last several years, is the power of influencers. And while they're obviously important, across all of fashion, I feel like it's maybe an even more outsized presence in swimwear.
Yeah, I agree.
Tell
It
me a
used
little
to
bit
be
more
about celebrities, but now
Yeah.
it's about influencers.
Yeah, I oversee the e-commerce channel while Jenna oversees the wholesale channel, and the e-commerce business is indeed growing. And in Miami, we didn't have a full-fledged fashion show like Beach Bunny. Instead, we had a Miami influencer brunch for our e-commerce exclusive launch called our Hamptons launch. And that drove a good amount of sales, and influencer marketing really, really works. And you just have to have your key number of like 10 to 20 influencers that constantly post your product, and that will definitely help drive sales of your e-commerce business and indirectly affect your wholesale business to increase the awareness of the brand.
That was actually going to be my next question, was if we have swimwear brands out there that are interested in figuring out how to start that influencer marketing, do you see it as something that is raising brand awareness overall, or do you actually measure the direct impact on sales of the style that the influencer is wearing? Like, how do you think about your sort of ROI in influencer marketing?
Yeah, so we can see it. So we could take Alex Earl for an example. She wore one of our suits to Vegas, and on that day, you can see there was a huge spike in sales on the site, but especially in that outfit. Then not just to say like on the site, then you have girls who follow her from college age to late 20s, early 30s, walking in to our stores and our wholesale accounts. We get stories all the time that she came in with her phone saying, do you have this Beach Bunny suit? Because it was tagged Beach Bunny. And if not, can you order it for me? And so now that has increased awareness on all fronts for everybody. And the wholesalers will call us and say, okay, who are you working with next? And what are you going to put on them? Because we want to make sure we have it in our store. So I think it's not just for D2C that it helps the whole channel.
Agree.
Amazing. One of the other things that has been changing within the industry, and you mentioned it a little bit at the beginning, Jenna, when you mentioned the importance of body positivity, is the inclusivity and diversity. Is that something that has impacted or affected your businesses? And how have you gone about incorporating that into your business?
Definitely. I mean, for us, we offer many styles from extra small. Well, all styles are extra small through extra large. And then we offer key bodies into 1X, 2X, and 3X. We keep it the same body, same styles. It's not added extra coverage, extra support, or anything like that, because these girls, they just want the cute bikini. So that's what we focus on. That business is growing this year. It kind of comes and goes and how much we really sell through, but we want to make sure to always have it available and offered. But this year in 2024, we're seeing a big expansion with that. But we always try to make sure to be broad in our assortment, our inclusivity for sizing, and definitely with diversity as well.
We ran a body campaign back in 2016. Actually, we were one of the first adopters that went up to a 2X and 3X. And at that time, we realized it didn't resonate with our customer. So we've taken some years off. And then since then, our grading up to an extra large, because we found that our customer is more, she doesn't want it to say 1X, 2X. She wants that extra large to fit her. So we've changed the grading in our larger sizes, but our cup sizing now is going up to triple D. And then we look to other brands to support us in the E's and G's that we were getting requests for. So we partner with other brands to bring them onto our site and into our store to add that offering that we just can't hit yet.
How great, though, to have a great solution to be able to meet the customer need.
Yeah,
That's great. Knowing that we've talked quite a bit about what's been happening and how the industry overall has been changing, I thought it'd be interesting to hear a little bit about, a little more about how you're approaching your distribution. You both have very successful and growing wholesale businesses. And I'd love it if you could just tell us a little bit about your approach to wholesale, what role it plays within your overall business, and what's worked well for you.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was a buyer before I went to wholesale side, so I have really good relationships with the buyers. I feel like I communicate with them very well. And using JOOR, I mean, helps me send them line sheets. I send them personal line sheets constantly, and then it's just easy for them to order at their convenience. And we're constantly communicating, whether it's through text message, phone calls, or JOOR.
And I can lead off that. Wholesale is a very important business for us and part of our channels. We use what we know from brick and mortar e-commerce in those areas to help put them into the right merchandising plan for each store to say, okay, we know this is going to work for you. We've already tested it in our market. In addition, because of the brick and mortar stores, we're able to really partner with our retailers. And when something isn't selling for them, we'll always take it back because there's a way for us to move it. And then we can always get them back into best sellers. And like Katie was saying, I think the one thing about the digital age is we've become a little disconnected face to face. And we have tried, Katie being a buyer and me have been being in swimwear for 21 years, to stick to the old way of still going down and visiting our customers face to face, instead of just taking their reports and saying, okay, they need to be filled in on this, to physically go down and do the old way of like stock counting. It doesn't happen as much as it used to, but I do feel that that's still an important part of the business that we have gotten away from.
Mhm.
I think also on what Stephanie's saying, I feel like in the last 2 years, largely because of COVID, this one-on-one going to travel is growing bigger, going back to the old school days more and more because people want that interaction. We travel to many trade shows through the year. We tried several a couple years ago, all different ones to see which ones worked. And we have a pretty good pace of what shows work and really working to build those relationships one-on-one at the shows, which is a key player with JOOR because of the JOOR app really helps with that. You know, you're at the show and you're so busy. Some shows we have so many people. Magic is crazy for us. And so being able to have that app with JOOR and you can plug in their information and quickly add in the order, it makes their life so much better rather than having to take the notes and remember to follow up and which style they saw. So I think trade shows and working with JOOR on the iPads really helps. And in 2024, we're really working on more in-person meetings, traveling to see these accounts and build the relationship stronger. Buyers love when you come to visit them. It makes them feel important. So really working that angle for us this year is going to be a big player.
And when you're traveling to go see them, are you typically, if it's a trade show, that's one thing, but are you otherwise visiting them in their store?
I mean, for us, we have independent sales reps across the country and Canada. So they are constantly going and visiting stores, boutiques, majors all over the place. So that's a very common thing. For me, I handle a lot of the key accounts. And so often we see them at shows, but this year we're making that effort to really go out, visit the corporate office, go to see the stores, and broaden that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we're gonna go to London to go see ASOS in a couple months. So that'll
Very
be a fun
exciting.
trip.
Very exciting. Is that one of your first international expansions?
No, we are also in Anthropologie UK, but it's our first traveling to see them directly. Yes.
That's great. Yeah, we are hearing that across the board in the industry. I think that people are excited about seeing each other in person. And so whether that means they're, returning to a showroom or returning to a trade show, or, there's that idea of connecting in person. And I love hearing your feedback on how you've been using the iPad app, because we've seen that behavior sort of shift back and forth. It used to be pre-pandemic, everyone was using the iPad app. And then during COVID, it completely swung the other way and everybody was using the desktop version. and doing virtual shopping. And what we think is it's going to balance out and it's going to end up at a 50-50 for the reasons that you were just explaining. You know, there's lots of occasions where you want to build a relationship and meet in person. And then there's other occasions where there's an ease and convenience to being able to shop remotely from wherever you are.
Yeah, I think the desktop version helps for us, given that we have our independent reps across the country. So they use that as all of their order entry platform. I mean, obviously for connecting with buyers as well, but for us as a company, they can send in their orders and utilize that platform, which makes it much easier.
That's great. Wonderful to hear. In general, you know, I think that digital technology has been having such an impact on the fashion industry and on the swimwear industry. You know, I'd love to just hear a little bit about how you see technology affecting your business and in general, platforms like JOOR, you know, how are they helping you to grow your business?
Yeah, I think it's the convenience, I think, of JOOR and the
Sorry,
technology
Katie, we
of
can't
it.
hear you very well.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think it's the convenience of using JOOR and the technology. I send line sheets out to the masses of our wholesalers on there. And then I also will, like I've said, I make just custom line sheets. And I think the technology of it is so easy that they can do it at any time. So if they're, 10 o'clock at night, can't sleep, they're on there and they're doing their order instead of calling me, at 9 a.m. to do it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Definitely,
I
I
think
agree.
We're so like worried about sustainability. And so now with technology, we're not printing thousands of lookbooks and wasting a ton of paper, and that the new generation of buyers, they care about that. And before, no one wanted to even carry the lookbooks back from trade shows in their suitcase. So then you'd be paying to mail them FedEx overnight with their handwritten notes. And now it's the ease of just saying, okay, this is what you liked, selecting it. We'll send you that custom line sheet. At the end of the trade show, you don't even need the extra pages of the stuff you didn't like. Gives it such more personalization. And also there's that sustainability aspect to it as well. And then, as I'd mentioned before, with the, multiple drops that the e-commerce consumers demanding we do, now if the drop doesn't align with a market date, we're able to say to our wholesalers, hey, we just designed this, it's coming out. Here's a line sheet for it. We're not going to be able to see you, but we're designing closer to the delivery date. And now that's giving them the chance to also purchase it, where before they wouldn't be able to see it on a model until it launched online. Or they wouldn't be able to see, anything. So that has been good for us as well.
I think just as people, we're so used to the e-commerce side of it all. So being a buyer and being able to just go online like you're shopping for yourself, quick clicks and your orders in, or for the old school people that are still learning how to navigate these online platforms. Katie, I do wake up at 9 o'clock, but with screenshots of all the things that they wanted on JOOR. So for the most part, everybody's on that bandwagon, but some people are still, they're learning and figuring out their ways, but they still utilize JOOR. I think, having all of the images and availability at their fingertips makes it so much easier because they can be laying in bed and still working and just get the orders done and move on to the next thing. For me personally, JOOR for me is a big player because I'm a relationships and a product person. I love sales and that side of it, but reporting is not my thing. I'm not good at reporting, and JOOR saves my life for that. I can run the sales summary reports that shows me each week's sales without having to figure out some sort of reporting system. I use inventory with images to easily send to buyers that like to just fill out in an Excel form what they want. And then the production reports too, when trying to write a PO, you see what sizes are working. For me, that's my favorite part of JOOR because that's not something that I'm good at all. And so JOOR does it for me.
I love that. That's so great to hear because, you know, part of our aim is definitely not only to make your buyers' lives easier and the order collection part, but also to make your lives easier as a brand. And so it's great to hear a little bit of how you're using JOOR on that side as well. One thing that hasn't come up, which is one of the more recent features that we've added, is JOOR Pay. I know that I think Beach Bunny, have you had experience with it yet?
Yes, I have. I've used JOOR Pay. It's very convenient to send invoices off to, you know, the buyers once they place. Then they can kind of fill out their credit card information. And then it's not on our hands to have a credit card. So that's really nice of a feature that you guys now offer.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think with lots of sensitivity around credit card and financial information, it's nice to not have to handle and store the credit card information and just make it easy for you to get that final payment. I would love, I'm going to take a minute just to mention to our attendees, if you guys have any questions that you'd like us to answer, please put them in the Q&A. And I am going to hop over there because I see that we did receive a question already from one of the attendees that I thought could be interesting. So the question says that you mentioned that you only showed through spring in Miami, and they were curious, was that because people are demanding more or less drops? And in general, perhaps for both brands, this part of the question says, what is your strategy for drops to wholesale? Is it similar to direct to consumer, or how are you approaching that? You know, I think this touches on something really interesting, which is the fact that there has been this increasing kind of request for frequency of drops. So maybe it's smaller deliveries that happen more frequently. Would love to get both of your perspectives on that. I think it's a really interesting question.
I think it's a great question. It's definitely an interesting part of the business right now because things are evolving so quickly, especially when you have both the wholesale and the direct to consumer offering. For us, we too only showed through spring at Cabana in Miami, but it's a mixture. For us, we have found for our direct to consumer, our e-commerce, we need to constantly have new drops. In the past, a lot of the times they were exclusive to retail only. But then I got lots of complaints and disappointed buyers because they would see something that they really wanted. So we have made a lot of adjustments. We have drops every month, bigger for wholesale, and then we have smaller retail drops like through the summer. But in the past, they would be exclusive. Now we are opening them up to wholesale so that everybody has the opportunity. And we're doing stricter guidelines with e-com on when things can go on sale and whatnot, so that if that buyer sees something that we're dropping in July, September, and they just want it so badly, but they're not opening their stores to swim till, say, let's October, we're allowing them to place these orders to ship later and setting guidelines with e-commerce to make sure that we're not putting things on sale to burn those bridges and letting everybody have an opportunity to carry these new drops. But we have a drop every month.
We're very similar. We have a drop every month, and within that drop, we will have maybe 1 or 2 collections that are exclusive to e-commerce that we're testing. So the units that we're purchasing are smaller. Since the pandemic, we've seen that our vendors overseas have been impacted. So whereas the lead time was a little bit shorter pre-pandemic, we're feeling that it is taking longer. So July market, we can't have all of our samples through spring. So that's also impacting what we can show is, you know, based on when we can get the samples. And because we're designing so much more and so many drops, the factories are saying you need to prioritize. So we said, okay, we're only going to show through January. And then in the next show, which is in August, we'll show, maybe through March, and then in October, we'll show through summer. But I agree with you, we've also had to look at our markdown cadence. So although there's multiple drops now more than ever, the markdown cadence has to stay where it was before. So that has been a challenge because you can't put everything on sale until a certain date because you need to respect everybody in the channel.
Very interesting. Thank you both for the feedback. There's another question that I think is interesting. We're getting a few questions now, so we will get to all of them, everybody. Another question that's interesting is a brand saying that as they are thinking about their technology investments, they were curious about if you use an ERP and if that ERP is integrated with JOOR. And I think that actually both of you have ERPs that are integrated with JOOR. We integrate with a huge number, I think about 100 or more different ERP systems. But could I get your thoughts on that? How you use your ERP and how does that then integrate with JOOR to give you visibility to everything?
So we're on Full Circle. And the integration into JOOR was really easy and seamless for us. It took just a week or two, actually, and it syncs every morning and evening. So the available inventory is always up to date within 12 hours. Every time we enter in a new style, it'll go into JOOR as well. And then say it's an e-commerce style. In your ERP, you can click, there's a button you can click that says like, do not update to your B2B, tech stack. So we'll click that, and then that one will never show up for wholesale. But overall, it's been a seamless experience for us, from available inventory to pricing. And then the other way, when a customer places an order, it goes right into JOOR and it ends up shipping out. It's almost like it is with Shopify and our ERP as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's great. Another question that came up that ties back to our influencer conversation. So I know this is of interest to so many brands because it has been such an important factor in driving sales. And this attendee asks, for your influencer strategy, are these paid sponsorships or gifting? They're trying to figure out how to go about the best approach to influencer, and just asking, what is the cost range, or do you have certain requirements that need to be met to kind of make it worth the investment? And if you're not comfortable speaking about investment, that's fine. You can just speak generally about, how do you, when you engage in one of these partnerships, how do you set requirements so that you're sure you're getting out of it what you are intending?
I guess that's a question for me. I have an influencer partnerships coordinator that usually sets the requirements, and we do both gifted and paid. And I would say if you're first starting out, that you should start with gifted, which means free products to influencers in exchange for an Instagram post and a TikTok post. And then until you can find some traction, then you can go on to some paid influencers. I hope that answers your question.
And I can piggyback off what Elaine said. So for us, gifting it's not a guaranteed. So the influencers we work with, we will gift all day long, and we will say you need to post with this tag at this time if possible. But because the influencers who are driving revenue right now, they are asking for a high paid amount. And If we want it to align with our marketing calendar, then we do pay for them. And we ask them to post on a certain day. There's additional payments if you want them to collaborate the post. So both of you will get it at the same time. But from a gifting standpoint, that raises so much awareness. You just have to know that it may not align perfectly with the timing of your social calendar.
But it's a great place to start, I think, because then people are so excited, and it begins the conversation, and then hopefully you can grow those relationships too.
And we found that the micro influencers, the ones with less followers, have more engagement.
Definitely.
And they are so excited to partner with you. And that's always a great place to start.
One of the challenges with micro influencers is usually just identifying them. How do you go about finding influencers that you want to work with?
When you find an influencer, there's a suggested suggested profiles under that certain profile you're looking at that have similar demographics, similar interests, and that's how you can find them. Or you can use like a PR agency where they could provide you influencers so you can build out your lists.
You can also purchase, similar to JOOR, but for the influencer marketing world, there's Grin, there's other ones, Sprout, that then can help build your influencer marketing if you don't have access to it. But once you find one that works for you, everyone else she follows, or it becomes a very internal web of influencers that you just go down a rabbit hole and continue to click.
They all know each other,
They
and they
do.
all network to their best abilities
Yes.
together. They know what they're doing.
I would love to circle back to the question that we started off at the beginning on around sustainability. Would love to hear your thoughts on the importance of sustainability and how your company approaches it.
It's very important, and I'm glad a lot of brands are starting to become more sustainable. I talked about how all of our swim is made from recycled fabrics, but not just only that. In our manufacturing processes, we own our own factories here in Los Angeles and overseas in Vietnam. And when you cut like bolts and bolts of fabric, 70% of the fabric is used towards the actual bikini, because they're all triangles, bikini bottom shapes, oddly shaped patterns. And then 30% of that goes to waste. And 30% of those fabric scraps, they just end up accumulating onto like a landfill. And what we do is that we save those fabric scraps and then accumulate them into boxes, and then we send them over here based in Los Angeles. We send them over to New Jersey to a company called TerraCycle, where they upcycle our fabric scraps and make them into flooring and insulation. So that really helps with trying to prevent more waste from happening. And that's one of our sustainability values that we have, that we list in our website. So we're always trying to find different ways on how to optimize our manufacturing processes. We also, we do this for other brands too, because we not only make our own brands in our factory, we do private label.
We also we have recycled foam inserts in all of our bikini tops. All of the rubber is made from organic rubber trees, non-toxic hardware. We print all of our fabrics in smaller batches and use only what we need, so that there's less water waste and dye issues. And then also another thing we did, especially in the pandemic, this one suddenly decided swimwear is going down, we're going to make masks. So out of our scrap fabric, we sold thousands and thousands and thousands of masks during 2020 and 2021. We've made scrunchies. We try to utilize it in whatever way we can.
So now instead of doing that, we're making little bags that we would put in our like little swim bags off of our scrap fabrics to put into our giveaways for our wholesale buyers and also in our e-commerce packages.
Oh, nice.
And then for us, speaking of packaging, all of our packaging, we started there because of our huge D2C business. There's so much waste. So all of our shipping back, all of our poly bags that we ship to consumer in is fully recycled. All of the boxes we use also recycled, and we ship in single pouches, each suit or each top or bottom, and all of those are recycled as well, in addition to hang tags.
Amazing. Really great. So clearly both of your businesses have taken this initiative to heart and have really been doing a lot to reduce your impact on the environment. There's one more question that came in as a question. This is someone who says, can you share any success stories where using a B2B platform impacted your business growth or helped you enter new markets? I know both of you spoke about the importance of using it at trade shows, which probably incorporates bringing on new wholesale clients. But is there anything in particular that comes to mind in terms of a success story of business growth?
Yeah,
I think sometimes, you know, I've been a sales rep for most of my life, and there's always been different ways of trying to find that buyer, connect with that buyer. You know, it was old-fashioned way of other reps and whatnot in the past. Then LinkedIn came and you could do your stalking and your research on there. And now with JOOR, you know, all of my reps utilize it. You can really try to target specific people if they're already on JOOR, just like I don't know, like Facebook or whatever. You can sit there and you can just really dive in and try to connect and find new boutiques in areas that maybe you don't have anybody. Some of the bigger accounts also have JOOR presence, so you can try to connect through that way. I think that that's a huge process. And also, like what Katie said, you know, you can send line sheets through JOOR. So if one new drop comes, you can just send it out to anybody that's connected with you. Maybe they've never written before, maybe you've never met them, but they're still knowing that something new is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback off of what Jenna said with in JOOR, there's a feature where you can kind of search all the other wholesalers out there by the city, the state, categories that they sell. And so when you're trying to hone in on a certain state or city, it's easy to find people that you can connect with, email, and get their information right away.
That's great. Thank you. I love that you guys are using all of JOOR's functionality. For those, or perhaps the person who asked the question, just for you to know, so as it was explained, the way that JOOR works is we're a connection-based system. So brands and retailers connect and then are able to view each other's line sheets and do business together. And as Katie was just explaining, if you're looking for new opportunities, you can search for those within the network of buyers. I see that we received another question, and I know we're almost out of time, but we've got a few minutes. So let's see. Like was mentioned earlier, brands are opening up to expanding their lines to cover-ups and other accessories. How would you like to be approached if a brand would want to collaborate with you, if you're even open to collaborations? Interesting.
Earlier, we do carry multiple brands on our site and in our store. And if anyone wanted to connect with us, they could just email info@Beach Bunny Swimwear. We are open to either doing a collab or carrying the brand if it fits with our clientele on our site, because it allows us then to reach a broader audience of consumers.
I think for us, our B2C is primarily just branded. Sometimes we add other goodies, but we have collabed with other brands to carry product or do like a social media contest or collab to try to help again broaden our awareness. But I do think that, like Stephanie said, it matters if it's a good match for our brand, but we're definitely open to it. For us, what email would they? Hello.
They could just go to like social@dippindaisies.com, but we collaborate with a lot of female entrepreneurs because that's one of our brand pillars to be female owned and a female run. And it doesn't matter how many followers you have or when you started your business. We love to promote other brands who are entrepreneurial and who wants to enter the market. We just collabed with a jewelry brand she just started a few months ago, and the jewelry complements so well with the accessories, and it also broadens our market. And yes, we're open to many different types of collaborations.
I love that we're both women operated brands.
Yep. One more question that came in says, I'd love to know from the brands approximately what % of their wholesale buyers place orders through JOOR. So they're wondering sort of what portion of your wholesale orders are entered in JOOR.
Actually 100% for us. It's a mixture of rep entry as well as buyer entry. So all of our reps across the country use JOOR to enter every order. Like we had talked about before, it's integrated. So every order needs to go through JOOR so that I can use it in all my reporting. But our reps enter it or buyers enter them themselves. And then the reps have to review for final approval.
We don't have 100% because we still have some buyers that want a little hand holding or that are old school and don't use any computer.
Yes.
So I try to put that in there for them, or I help them along the way.
Yeah, we definitely have those too, but we still have to enter them through JOOR ourselves, but definitely.
Everything, same with us. Everything goes through JOOR because like you mentioned, Jenna, the reporting in JOOR, the ease of it and the visibility is, the whole reason we use JOOR, to be honest. It's so much nicer than the way the antiquated ERPs spit it out.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much. This was such a great discussion. And I can tell that it was fascinating to our audience as well, because I love that we got a lot of questions from the audience. So I really appreciate both of your teams being here and being a part of this with us. I learned so much, and I know that it was just a really, really great discussion. If anybody is interested in learning more about JOOR, please go to our website at joor.com or feel free to reach out. You can send an email to marketing@joor.com and we'll get back to you and direct it in the right way, in the right direction. So again, thank everybody for attending. And thank you again to the Beach Bunny and the Dippin' Daisies team. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the great questions too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.